Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to the Once You're In podcast. This is season 3. We don't know what episode it is, but we're not going to say what episode it is. It is going to be
somewhere in the 120s.
God knows where, yeah. Hopefully Sam puts it in there. That's what we're paying him for, just to know what episode we're on. So basically we're going to do a catch-up and then we're going to also do a separate Q&A episode. So thank you again for those who have asked questions. Again, as we said last week, we are closing in on some milestones. 500 subscribers, let's get there pretty soon, and I mean 800 Spotify followers sounds cool, but 1,000 that is what we really want.
500 subs sounds more impressive because people are subscribed to a YouTube channel where we post it on our social media where they would have found us. So if you're watching this on Spotify, go on to YouTube,
I think
subscribe.
Spotify, I don't, like we've said before, I would never follow something on Spotify.
No, I think
it's pretty cool that we've actually got followers on Spotify.
Yeah, I follow zero things. I've said this before. Zero things on Spotify. I've never thought, I want it to be announced when this is out.
No, but it's cool that people do.
Yeah, no, definitely. So
I would, but I just never really thought of it as a thing until realising that it's a thing.
But that being said, and guys, don't unsubscribe. But do you ever go onto YouTube and click, the only thing I'll ever click on YouTube is the top button, which gives you recommended videos. Back in the day, you used to click subscriptions, and it would show all in a chronological order.
But it just comes up with your subscriptions anyway.
Yeah, but now it kind of promotes the ones you actually watch. Yeah. But I can't think I'm going to subscribe to this channel, so I always see their videos. If you watch a few, usually they'll just pop up if you're subscribed or not. So we've got a few things to talk about. I feel like you're quite pent up and sat up. Like this chair, mate, I'm quite relaxed. We've got different chairs. So this one I'm leaning back, and Finn looks a little bit. There we go. You look a bit more relaxed, mate. You looked a little bit on edge. Is everything okay?
No, I'm just
a bit anxious.
No, I'm thinking that this coffee's getting cold, so I'm going to quickly go into the coffee.
Coffee story. Finn's got me a Starbucks. Yeah. Okay.
So basically, coffee story from this morning. So I messaged Reese. Do you want a Starbucks picking up on the way? He said yeah. So basically, there's on the Starbucks app, you can choose where you're picking it up from, but there's so many different ones. So it's local to you or nearby. There's so many different ones, and Leicester northeast or something.
Forest East.
Leicester Forest East is the motorway.
Yeah.
But there's Forest East Main and Forest East DT, which is drive through.
Okay.
But the DT one didn't even come up. Okay. So I was like, I'll just click the main one.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think of it. I was like, oh, it's just that one. And I got there, and the guy was like, you haven't ordered anything. And I was like, I have, and I showed him. Yeah. And he was like, oh, it's sound, I'll just make you it. Yeah. So that's why there's no sticker on it, because usually there'd be a sticker on it, and then you'd know what the drink is. So Reese doesn't know what I've got him.
What have you got me, though, mate? I mean,
I'm not going to tell you, that's the whole point.
Let's have a sip. It's not, this isn't hot, it's like a warm coffee.
Because it's half an hour since I bought it.
Oh, it's quite nice, though. I have no idea. I'm not a coffee connoisseur, but that's nice.
Have a guess.
I honestly haven't had this is my first Starbucks in over a month.
Do you want some info? Yeah. Some background info you can maybe guess. Okay. It's got 85.7 milligrams of caffeine. Sorry, I didn't get decaf. I know it's a rest day, but I thought
I'm going to be amped up.
We need to be amped up for the podcast.
I'm going to be bouncing off the walls.
It's just under 150 calories.
Okay, so I've fucked my diet already.
2 grams of fat, 20 carb, 11.8 protein.
Okay. Is it one of the? No, I'd be able to taste if it was like that gingerbread spice one or whatever. Is it a gingerbread spice one?
No.
Okay, can't tell.
I don't think they're doing that at the minute. Pumpkin spice latte.
That's
through,
what it is.
Just through October, I think.
So what is it?
It is a caramel macchiato.
Okay.
With
nice.
Blonde roast. Okay. An extra shot of blonde roast. So it's got 3 shots.
Okay.
Usually it comes with vanilla syrup, but I changed it to sugar-free vanilla.
Okay.
I think
it's really nice. It's sweet. It's like Sanaya would love something like this because it's very sweet.
It's not warm enough. Yeah. I should have got extra hot.
Yeah, extra hot. Can you ask for that? When it comes to, because sometimes you just get them and they're stupidly fucking hot, and you have to wait 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you can ask for extra hot. I usually ask for extra hot because for some reason since prep my taste buds just I have no.
Mate, you were eating in Vegas some food that was I'm honest, how it's not burning your insides. Finn was eating food that was almost on fire from a microwave. And it was it's almost like he's cooked his rice 4 times. It was fried.
There'd be points towards the back end of prep where if my food wasn't red hot, I'd be I need to heat it up again.
Why? Do you think it's just because it was slowed you down eating it?
Maybe, but I almost think it was just if it. I enjoyed it more.
Yeah,
when it was really hot, I enjoyed it more.
Literally produces serotonin when it comes to you eat spicy food, you feel good. So I know it's not spice.
I don't fucking hate spice.
No, I know it's not spice, but maybe it's similar where it's hot, so you're oh yeah, I feel so full. Or maybe
it
it's
was
because your
never like
stomach's bleeding and then
No,
you
it
don't
was-
want to eat again for the
yeah,
next
feel
3
really
hours.
full.
Yeah.
shitting out blood all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, satiety's wicked though.
Yeah. No, it was never to do with satiety. Like it was never like, oh, like I'm gonna have it hotter because I feel like fuller for it.
Yeah.
Maybe that was subconsciously, but I don't think it
Feel
was.
far.
It was
Fuller, bro?
it was more so just like, if like, let's say you were to get a meal out and it's not properly hot,
Yeah,
you'd
you
be
get
a
a bit
little bit like, oh, it's
disappointed.
annoying.
Yeah.
So it was almost like when I'm at home, I'm gonna make sure every meal is as like nice as possible.
Yeah.
I think I just did it subconsciously anyway. But yeah, like with my drinks and stuff, I honestly just think like I'll finish a drink and Shannon's like, "How are you drinking that? Like, it's red hot." And then I'll
Yeah.
drink hers and I'm like, "That's absolutely fine."
Yeah.
But I think it's like a new thing that I've developed.
Yeah.
I think I'm just in the trenches so much that
Yeah,
my body
you
just will
you-
take anything.
Yeah, you could just, your mouth's just like, oh, food, I'll take this,
Yeah,
even
no
if it's
matter how hot it
horrible
is.
or just so
Could be
spicy
anything.
or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we need to do one like where we do like a questions, like prep, like quirks. Like Josh Campbell's, I have to have an Epsom salt bath
Yeah,
for
otherwise
45.
it's the end of the world.
I saw Josh. I'm sorry, mate. I didn't actually, and I've said this before. I said it to him. I didn't ever really watch Josh's stories at all until we went to Vegas, and then because we like tagged each other in a few stories, I always see his stories. And he put up a story like a week ago, and he was like, put a photo of the bath, and he was like, can't like a PTSD or like when I had to spend 45 minutes or 30 minutes in the bath after every session.
And I had
And it
to.
was like, yeah, it was like I had to. It was like no one's making you. It's not like, oh god,
I was.
yeah, prep. You have to do.
I was checking up on him every 5 minutes. Are you in the bath?
You still in the bath?
You
Hey
best
mate,
be
can
in
I
the
just
bath.
can I get a photo of you just making sure
You
you're
ain't
still
got
in the
the
bath?
bath yet, have
Yeah,
you?
don't get in the bath. 30 minutes. So I saw it and I was like, God, everyone develops these weird prep tendencies and quirks of just
While
like
we're talking about Josh,
being a bit odd. Yes.
I hope Harry's okay, mate.
Harry? His fish.
His pet
I saw-
fish. Yeah.
It's
He'll
like,
be
oh,
like, "Why are you laughing?" Bless him. So Shannon said, she was like, "Did you see Josh's story?" And I was like, "No, what was it?" And she was like, it was about his fish." And I was like, "Oh yeah, he sent me a voice note about it."
Yeah.
And she was like, "He said he's like stopped work and everything because of it." And I was like, "What?" So apparently, like because of his fish, he didn't do any check-ins. He
hey guys, can't do any
didn't do his form
check-ins.
feedback. But to be fair, like he did say that he'd had him since he was a kid. He's had him like 9 years. So
I also
it
think
is
like,
sad.
how can you
But
develop
he's still
that?
alive.
Oh, that's good. Well, like, well done, Harry. Carry on.
Yeah.
I also think, like, in a weird way, maybe it's because I've never owned a fish.
I've never owned a fish.
I wouldn't give a fuck if I saw
Yeah,
my
but
fish
it
dead.
wasn't. It was like a decent sized fish. It wasn't like a tiny goldfish.
Okay.
I don't
yeah.
know, Josh. Let us know what
Make,
what brand he
breed.
is.
Yeah.
What breed of fish is it?
Yeah.
But anyway, in all seriousness, like you hang in there, Harry.
Yeah.
Send in love from the podcast.
Yeah. Shout out Harry, the fish, in a fish tank next to Josh's bed. Yeah. So yeah, how's things, mate? How's the last week been? You've been
All good.
complaining a little bit about your split, your shoulder.
It's just my back.
Yeah.
Like it's like I said. I think I said it on the podcast last week. It was just a case of taking the stiff leg with the Texas deadlift bar and just not really respecting it enough, and then losing a bit of tightness. And then my back's not been great ever since, which is annoying. But it's the same issue
Yeah.
that I had years ago. I remember I had it in my first prep from RDLing.
Yeah.
And then when I took the RDL out, like over time, it kind of went away. So that's why I'm not hinging at the minute. But I reckon it's getting a lot better. Even after yesterday, like
Yeah.
from doing the Smith press and doing that Olymp press, like last night, my trap's like really
Yeah.
tight. And then waking up this morning, it's like I can still feel that issue. It's not just like tightness. It's like almost like a bruising kind of stabbing pain in my in the left side of my ribs at the back. I think it is to do with like potentially like an intercostal issue, so like muscle in between my rib cage. I
Yeah.
think it's something to do with that.
Just
'Cause
gets
it's the exact
irritated.
thing. I could
Yeah.
literally pinpoint it like with it, like the exact point where it is, but then getting in on it makes it worse because it like bruises
Yeah.
it. So like we've both got physio today, so I'll be seeing Aaron. I'm just gonna get him to do like my traps, because when I have the issue with it's like under my scap in my rib cage, when that flares up, my traps get really tight,
Yeah.
and then my shoulder rolls forward, and
Yeah.
then my pressing feels awkward
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's like it doesn't impact my leg training. My leg training is really good, but it impacts like my upper training.
Yeah.
So it's annoying. But yeah, like let's say, obviously, like you say, I've been complaining about it. Like
No, you're not been complaining.
nowhere
There's-
near as much as
Don't complain about injuries, guys.
yeah,
One of the
but
last
nowhere near
podcasts.
as much as I would
No.
have. Like let's say again, like 2-3 years ago, I'd have been like almost depressed because of it, like
Yeah.
so stressed out about it, like
Yeah.
letting it impact my day-to-day life, letting it impact every single session. Whereas now it's like it is what it is. I say these same things to my clients all the time, like focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do. If all I'm thinking about is that I can't hinge, or this hurts or that hurts, like you're just stressing yourself out all the time. And then your sleep's not as good, your digestion's not as good, so you take even longer to recover.
Yeah.
Then you're arsey day to day. It's like, it's not worth it. Like I enjoy training, so I'll make it work however I can. You know what I mean? So at the minute, if I'm not hinging, so be it. I'm not hinging. My back training's still really good. I'm really enjoying my back sessions. My push training, yeah, it's okay. It's not amazing, but I'm still enjoying it. And my leg training's really good. It's just like, I can't do a hip hinge. And like a few months ago, I'd have been, a few months ago, I was back end of prep. I think I was still hinging. I'd have probably been more stressed then, thinking, oh shit, like
my posture change is
in the run up to shows, Whereas now it's sort of like, it's really not the end of the world. But again, a few years back, I'd have been like, oh my god, I'm not hinging for a month, like I'm being a pussy because of my back. And it's like, whereas now I'm like, I know that it's just going to make it worse.
Yeah, it's going to take time.
I just got to be smart around it.
Yeah,
I think that's something we've both developed a lot in recent years. Like a few years ago,
not really giving much of a fuck, because it's like,
it's
you're just gonna
making sure you don't let it stress you out.
Stress yourself out and just make it worse. Like realistically, I think it's one of those, like, we'll have clients where the first time they ever pick up any injury,
like, oh mate,
and it's like literally the end of the world. It's like, so like, it's the end of the world. I have a client, Joe Care, looks really good. He does look really good. So I've been coaching him now for like 5 months, and he's like got a bit of a back issue.
And he's injured constantly.
No, he's just
horrendous programming.
Horrendous programming.
Got him hinging every session.
Hinging every session, bent rowing after every hinge. I don't know why he's not recovering. No, he's got a bit of a back issue. And like, it's been annoying him for like a couple of weeks. And he messages me on like Monday being like, not being able to hinge makes me really depressed. And like, I literally just like saw the message, like, I'll get back to him on the check-in. Like, I'm not going to send him a voice. A message like that, I'm like, I'll get back to him when I like got a minute to be like, bro, just get a grip. So I sent his check-in through, and I was like, sent everything over. And then literally 2 days after, he's like, going to try 200. If it doesn't move, fuck it. And I'm like, mate, if you can try 200, you're not that bad. Like,
and also, like, if it, let's say you do that and
it makes it worse. Yeah, you'll learn.
You've only got yourself to blame.
But you'll learn, because you'll go, I probably shouldn't do that. You know, like, I haven't pressed now efficiently for like
ages,
mate, like 3 months. Like, my AC joint has just been irritated.
Your chest looked shit yesterday.
Yeah, my chest does look really flat, to be fair. Like, it's really noticeable. Like, it's very, very flat.
To be fair, one thing that is quite good though is that your front delts look. Yesterday, your side delts don't look anywhere near as dominant, but I think also that's partly just when you're a bit fatter.
Yeah, it's because how pointy and sharp they are. But I definitely actually think, like, kind of skipping between topics here, I definitely think like my physique's like pretty like balanced now, which I'm quite like. Obviously, when I get lean, it'll be interesting to see. But I think I've definitely brought up areas like, for example, in comparison to my side delts, like my legs, for example, I think look really balanced.
Where do you think you're weak now? Because like I've got a
arms, I think, could be better.
Not an idea, but I've got an insight into something that I think you won't agree with.
Okay, I'm interested to hear this. So anyway, before I interject we get into this, my chest has been a bit shit training wise. My chest is alright when it's okay, but because I'm wide, when I get lean, it always looks a little bit flat, and it's very easy to go flat just with how like wide my kind of shoulders like are. Yeah, my clavicles are. I'd say if I was to pick like weak points, my midsection's still not the best, but I think it's not as bad, but it's still
hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. My delts are definitely less overpowering, but that can only, when I get lean, like my delts are pretty stupid.
This tidy up will be good.
Yeah, it'll be good to see.
You can have more of an insight when you get leaner.
I think my quads are a lot better. I think my glutes are still shit. I think my glutes are pretty shit. Like, if I was to be honest, my lower back's thicker, but it always looks thicker when I'm fatter and when I'm hinging a lot. I'd say my arms need to be better. I'd say like my forearms, definitely. Like my forearms like vascular in detail, but they're quite thin in comparison. So like a front double bicep, my arms don't look bad, but I definitely think if I was to get lean, they would need to be better. I feel like it's one of those, especially when you look at it from a bodybuilding sense. Everything just needs a bit of work. You know, like what would you be saying? What do you think I would go disagree with?
You know how you always used to think that your hamstrings were like so good compared to your quads?
Yeah.
I don't think they are anywhere near anymore. I think quads have come on a lot, but from the side, I think a lot of it's posing. Yeah. But like your side leg is all quad.
Oh yeah, most of it. Yeah, like, but I also think that is probably posing.
I think a lot of it's posing because your hamstrings from the back are pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it as well from the back is your adductors, because your adductors are very good.
Yeah. So what you think about hamstrings?
Your hamstrings are, I honestly think, and I think that's probably because like when you do a hip hinge, I think you get a lot more erector, a lot more back out of your hip hinging.
Yeah.
And then if you think about it, your hamstring volume's pretty low.
Oh, really?
Because you've always thought that they're really strong, and they have been. They used to be.
Yeah.
Like when you used to hit a side leg, and again when you're leaner, it's different.
I think the problem is when you're fat, you almost sit on you hit your side pose a little bit differently, because when you're lean, your hamstring will just sit. If you don't even if you just sit onto that leg without contracting, your hamstring will like hang. When you're fat, it's all blurred. You know what I mean? So you can't
you
really
can see that separation still from your quad to your ham. I think a lot of it is posing. Like your posing could be a lot better, but obviously you are fat, so it's difficult.
Yes.
So your posing could be a lot better, but I do think I think you do need to prioritize your hamstrings a little bit more, and just practice posing like the side shots.
Yeah. I think the side shots. It's one of those side shots are fucking horrendous to get
Side
into.
tricep, yeah, fair enough. But side chest, like your hamstring, like have a look at the photos when you get a chance.
Yeah,
and, like the side chest,
mate,
go, shit, yeah, like a hamstring. There's not much there, like in terms of hanging down compared to what it used to be. In comparison.
I also think as well, like my quads have come from like pretty much like one of like my weakest body parts to probably like one of my best.
Good body part. Now.
Yeah, so like
but still from the front. I think your adductors make your quads look a lot better from the front.
Yeah. But I've definitely got more of like an outer sweep now, which is good because I had no outer sweep prior. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, ideally, for people that don't know, I'm like 3 days. What is it? Thursday. So yeah, this is the 4th day into a tidy up. I'm a bit flat, guys. I've pulled off 2.8 kilos, another 0.5 drop, and yeah, I'm thinking I might need a refeed. Yeah, this will spill me over. To be fair, my rest day food's like fuck all in comparison to what it was.
What was it now?
300 carb, 300 protein, 80 fat, which was like prior.
Yeah, 80 fat.
80, I know, Jesus Christ.
That's mental. That's still like, for me, that's still like quite a lot compared to where I'm at currently still.
Yeah, well, mate, my training day food, I pulled off 400 carb, I think like 15 fat, and then 30 protein.
On a training day altogether.
Yeah, I'm still on more food than you.
Oh, yeah, you will.
It's funny that, isn't it? So, yeah, so basically a little tidy up. It's one of those where, like, I'll have people through social media, clients, like, I don't think I've had a single person say to me, good thing you're tidying up, bro, you're fat. But I'm at that point.
No one's going to say that, though, are they?
No, but the vast majority are like, you're still in okay nick. You know, you could push.
That's what everybody says, mate.
I could, yeah.
People were telling me to push to 250.
Yeah, 250, 230, to go to 250.
You see, I put that video on my story.
Yeah, but you were legit. Like, that's...
I don't know. I think I could have probably pushed.
Yeah, you probably could have made a little bit more, but you were quite fat. Like, that'd be like me at like 300. But
it's weird, though, because like I've said before, like, remembering back then, I didn't feel... lethargic. I didn't feel fat. Like I knew I was, but I didn't feel like. I think it's just because I was doing cardio every day. Like, do you remember there was never a time where it was like, fucking hell, you're unfit. Like in my sessions, I was really I was recovering really well between sets.
Yeah.
Like as much as I was very, very fat, I think the only thing that was like really noticeable was my sleep.
Yeah.
Like I'd snore a lot, and now and again Shannon would be worried that I was gonna die, similar to you.
Yeah, that's the worst issue for me.
But other than that, like. Other than nearly dying in my sleep, it's fine. Everything was good.
Other than every night, like Shannon thinking I'm going to die.
Yeah, it
was really good.
But no, like I imagine if I was to go back to that right now, I'd be like, fucking hell, I feel awful. Yeah. But because it was such a gradual increase to that point, and because I was like still doing cardio and everything, I remember just feeling really good.
Yeah, I think you definitely do. It's more impactful when you like fall out of sync. Like I went to obviously Vegas and we were doing cardio in the mornings, but it might have been where I did cardio 4 times instead of 7 times in a week. And then I came back and it was like the steps, my feet were fucked. And then it was a case where obviously I had New York.
We were doing a lot in Vegas though.
Yeah,
it was
and
busy.
Then New York was literally 2-3 weeks after, which was as busy. And like I remember coming back and it was like I said to Finn like during the Vegas trip I was like I'd probably like to tidy up soon. Like again from a composition standpoint I could have pushed up, but it's a case where the responsiveness, how you feel, you like sleep for example. I haven't had over like 60 as a sleep score more than once probably or twice that I can remember over the last like 3 or 4 months. Where like
that's because you play games all night.
No, it's not at all. I literally I sleep for like the other night I remember it was like I got to bed relatively like early. And it said I didn't get to bed till 2 a.m. because I was like, which again is going to be a bit of a glitch. Yeah, I'm not going to say my O-ring is everything. I know I slept, but like I've always been a very light sleeper. Like when I was young, I used to always struggle to sleep. So like the fact that my sleep,
he's not a light sleeper. I was kicking him in Vegas because he was snoring.
No, I would say a light sleeper. I wake up a lot. Like it might not be a light sleeper, but I wake up maybe 5 or 6 times. I'm probably choking in my sleep and I was dying. So
you definitely didn't. I was literally booting you and you weren't waking up.
I was just snoring more.
Horrible.
So and bearing in mind, Finn's saying this. Finn also did snore. Like
so Finn I was full of cookies every night.
Yeah, full of cookies and ice cream, and just his body's trying to process it.
To be fair, I think the only night that I snored was the night that we all had cookies and ice cream.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, like I said, sleep was a bit shit. Appetite was getting to the point where like I just felt like very, very like just meh. I definitely felt more sluggish, but that was probably a combination of like routine and stuff like that, and also because of like performance. I'm not saying like performance is going to drop off. You get to a point where you're so heavy. Every set's battering you. You're moving around like not like 270, 280. It's not like it was like so hard,
no,
but it was like I'd have a deload, and within like a week or two after just hard training, which again is granted when you're quite strong, but I'd feel like I've legitimately just trashed myself.
Yeah, I remember like think back to the sessions when like I think we were both like I don't think you were like peak off season, but you were heavy.
Yeah.
And I was like, when we were deadlifting on that Saturday, and we were both like getting good progressions every single week. We were doing the hack on the Tuesday, and we were both getting good progressions every week, doing like 5 plates plus every time. Then we were doing a leg press that was like absolutely battering us. Pressing, we were doing like 7 plates plus on the shoulder press. Obviously, you were doing more, but like every single session, it's like a massive lift that batters you. Like, obviously, it's going to take its toll. But then also, you can almost warrant that because you have so much energy stored, and your joints are that secure with stupid, copious amounts of lard around them.
Just olive oil, just literally
full of olive oil.
So
it's a funny one because like thinking back to that now, it's like I'm looking forward to being back to that, but I don't need to get to that. Like I don't need to be that heavy again. Like I won't benefit from being realistically that heavy.
No, but you don't benefit from getting to, like, if you were to be 230 now or 240, you don't get benefit immediately. It's the process of getting there.
Even in the long term, I don't think I'll need to push up to that. Like, don't get me wrong, I might, but I very much doubt that I will. Like, just based on the fact that...
Thank you for that, mate. It was lovely.
It's all right. It's £4.80 or something. Whenever you get chance, just transfer.
Yeah, sad. I said over. I sent it over in the intermission.
Yeah, so... No, but, like, even in the long term, I don't think I'll need to push up to that based on the fact that when it next comes to a diet, it's just more work to do. You know what I mean? Whereas like, I know that I can still have my performance at a very high level at 180 to 200 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then also because I've been that heavy and I've been
you almost set your
strong. Yeah. But have I been that strong or have I just been fatter? You know what I mean? And I just had more weight behind me.
Yeah.
So like I think in the long term, like, it's easy to be like, oh, I want to push up to that. And
I think you should if you need to make big strides forward from a muscularity standpoint.
I think it depends on age as well. Like,
as well.
I'm not young anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
you're fucking old, mate.
Yeah, but I'm not like at that age where, like, for example, Josh. Like I keep saying to Josh, like, I'm gonna push you up. Like you're gonna get pretty heavy.
And he should.
Because he's young. Like I think if you're in your early 20s
or more so training years, like if your first few years of training, just get
make
heavy.
The most of it. Yeah, exactly. But I think I'm at that point now where it's like, realistically, do I need to do that? Yeah. Like, for me to... like, now, going into the gym, I don't feel like, oh, I need more body weight for this to feel better. Like, I don't feel like that on any movement at the minute. Yeah. The only reason I maybe would think that is that I've been heavier before. You know what I mean?
You've had that, like, stability.
Yeah, whereas now, I'm not thinking... I don't feel unstable on any movement. I don't feel unsafe. I don't feel like I've not got enough energy or anything like that. It's literally just a case of time now. Long term. Like, I'd be happy to literally be in a surplus, a small surplus, for the next 2-3 years. Yeah. Without probably needing a mini cut. If I do need one, I'll just pull back. But realistically, if I was to be, let's say, by the end of all of that, high 190s, 200, and be like the best I've ever been at that, I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? Rather than being like, right, I'll push up to 235 because I got to 233 last time, then I'll pull back. It's like, yeah, but you got to 233 last time and you were fucking really fat.
Yeah, and then you have to diet off. Like, I find it mental.
My
like,
pre-prep was like 46 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, a pre-prep should maybe be like 15 to 20.
Like, if you've always been like like, let's say for example, I know you weren't always 230, and like naturally you'll stay like a more lean sort of composition. But if you've always been like really, really heavy, when you get down to like even 180, 190, when you're not stage condition, you'll be like, Jesus Christ, I feel like I've pulled a lot of weight off.
It's like
you almost feel like slightly different in comparison, and it's like, there's no surprise you see people that do well, especially in the natural kind of feds. I think enhanced it's a little bit different because you've got assistants to play with. But in the natural sort of realms, the people that stay quite close to their, let's say, not stage condition, but they're not dieting loads, and find it easier. Yeah, so like, for example, if you look at Josh, Connor, like Flanagan, people that just like 10 kilo preps at most, and then they get lean and they're like, oh, sound, I can say like this. So, for example, for somebody who's pulled off, let's say, 40, 50, 60 pounds plus maybe, it might be a case where you might look good for one show, but try and look good for multiple shows and multiple months, you're probably going to get worse.
I think if you're doing it in the sense of, like, again, like a pre-prep, doing it in multiple stints, it's doable. But like, even looking at mine, like, I remember thinking when I started, I was like, oh, I'm starting in a good spot. Yeah. Like, looking back now, I was fat. Like, I was
when you were like 195?
I was 196, I think, when I started. Like, I remember then thinking, oh, I'm starting in a good spot. And it wasn't bad. Like, don't get me wrong, it was better than 230 odd. Yeah. But still, like, now, if I had a client starting at that, I'd be like, this is softer than I want. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's just based on experience and,
but also based on how that as well. You go from 230 to 180, you feel lean. Like, it's quite hard at times to be
I think when I was 180, like, the look was pretty good, especially coming back up. Yeah. The look was good because it was like, okay, I'm a lot leaner, but I'm still full. Like, and on the way back up, I'm obviously increasing fullness. Performance was really good. Performance was a bit shit towards the end of the pre-preps. Then when you come back up, it's like, oh, I feel great, looking really good. But then, like, if I look at it in isolation, if I forget all that, I started prep heavier than I would actually recommend now, based on what I sort of experienced. You know what I mean? Like, if I was to be prepping this year, I'd probably be looking at starting 180.
Yeah.
And
so what would that be, like £25? Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it makes it. Mine was, so I started at like 118 technically, but I went away and I came back at 112 and I was on stage at 102. So it was £22. Like, obviously the bodybuilding shows were a bit lighter, but that was like pretty sound £22 in 14 weeks. 15 weeks,
and then 10 kilos in the
and then
week.
and then 20, and then 25 pounds
in still really fat.
Yeah, in 10 days. Yeah, and then I was like, oh shit, I've actually over dieted and I've lost all my muscle. I'm so flat. Fuck, what have I done? But yeah, that's like, I think that gives you a better sort of understanding. But you learn, like, again, it's very, and it also as well like situation dependent. Like, even though you know how your body's going to respond, you don't really know how you're going to look after a certain period of time. Like, in hindsight, with what you said for last year, which is meant to say last year because we're now into the new year, but like, I remember when you were setting up your shows and we both were like, well, you know, if I get lean, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. But the actual process of being there, it's like, oh, this is actually not just a simple process of I can do a diet break, or I can treat this show as a deload. You feel shit, you look worse, your head's
also,
a mess.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. I think that's what it is. The main thing is that sort of mental stability at that point.
Oh, mate,
it's like it's difficult to just go, right, I'll implement a diet break, I'm going to feel better, I'm going to look better, because at that point you don't even really know what feeling better or looking better is. You just sort of need to just do and almost try and just let it almost like let it happen. Like, don't over analyze things.
I wish I was like a kid where it was like, you know, you give somebody like their first ever prep, like a refeed, and they're like, I feel amazing. I remember like on the days that I'd refeed on Monday and you'd be like, what's up with you? Like, you're fucking quiet as anything. I was like, I feel shit. And you're like, haven't you had extra food? I was like, yeah, but it's not doing anything. Like, I feel shit. Like, I don't feel great. Like, but again, I feel like at times that youthness of like, oh my God, I've had 50 gram extra carbs, I feel awesome.
Yeah, I think it's maybe as well, like, I wouldn't say lack of experience, but it's maybe a bit of naivety. Like, it's like placebo effect. Like, if I was to say to you 5 years ago, right, here's this, try it and you'll feel great, you probably would, just because I've told you, or vice versa. Whereas like now we'd both be a bit more analytical and be like, well, is that realistically going to be beneficial? Like, am I actually going to feel better for it, or is it just going to be
I've had carbs in meal one, like, wow, I feel so much better.
But to be fair, like, I do think there is obviously warrant to it, and performance definitely takes does improve, and the look improves. You might still physically feel shit, but generally, like, what I found was, even if whenever I had like the refeeds or a diet break or was filling up into a show, I was still very lean, so I still felt all the same like negative tendencies from the diet, but it was almost like in the immediate term, getting up out of my seat was easier. You know what I mean? Little things like that. Actually, I have got more energy, and like mental energy was there more. I wasn't maybe as irritable or as ratty. Like, if Shannon asked me a question like that had pissed me off, I'd probably
fuck off, Shannon.
When I'd had more food, I'd probably be a bit more responsive. You know what I mean? Like, or if she did something funny, I'd actually have the energy to laugh. Whereas like if you're on low food, high expenditure, and you're losing at maybe a faster rate than you should be at a certain point, like that's when like all those just normal day-to-day tasks just become a bit like, like everything feels like more of a drag, doesn't it? I felt that was a good little chat. I wanted to go on. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say we should do one about, like, this would be another one, like prep mistakes that we've both made. That would be quite a good one. We'd have to draft some things, because I think instantly when you were saying that, what springs to mind was when you were like 170 to 173 for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And I remember that was when you started really digging and you weren't looking much better. And you were like, I'm going to run a refeed. I'm going to run a bit of a diet break. I think you had like a refeed. You went up a few pounds. You were like, oh, I got to do more.
I think it was in between shows, wasn't it?
That was the start.
I think what it was after the FitX show, Physique, I think I was like, right, I need to be a lot leaner for bodybuilding. And I don't think there was that long. Like, well, there was, but again, like, because I had the A1 show planned, I was almost thinking I need to be ready for that, and I didn't, because it was a warm-up show ages before. It was like, I remember literally being like, I'm doing the A1 as a warm-up, but it's literally just to see like how my posing is and things like that. Like, I'm not going to be in true stage condition, but I'm pretty lean. But then, like, I remember thinking, like, after the FitX, I was like, I need to be shredded for this A1 show. I was like, no, you don't. I was already lean anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I already looked good. You know, it'd been sound if I'd have stepped on stage in the same condition as the Fitex for the A1. That'd been absolutely fine. Yeah. But instead, I was like, I need to be loads leaner because now I'm gonna have my legs out.
Yeah.
So and then I think it was from then where it was like, it was almost like because I'd pushed harder and harder, that was when my body didn't respond very well, and then it was like, right, now I'm going to pull back.
I'm going to do, I need to pull back, but then you gain a bit of weight, then you're like, right, I need to push harder, it's a slippery slope of like wanting to do more and like having that like responsiveness, you know.
There were definitely certain stages throughout the prep where it was like everything felt really good and really smooth, and I was looking really good.
Yeah.
And then like you have a day where you feel trashed or whatever, and then your head goes a little bit. Yeah. But again, it's all normal. Like I think everybody experiences that. Like it's completely normal to feel like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's definitely loads of stuff that I learned from myself, from clients' preps this year, from other people's preps, like people who didn't do well, people who did do well, like looking at their starting point, looking at other things, how they manage the prep. Like there's loads of things that you learn from just basically anecdotal evidence of how everyone else is sort of managing things. Like I think what's always good is like looking at the people who do well, like looking at the people who, let's say, ended up going to WMBF Worlds, or the people who were winning those shows, and like looking at them and looking at what they do in their off season, and looking at, you know, how their training is and things like that. Like it's very cliche, but it is true. Like success does leave clues, and if you're not taking that into account, like again, a lot of it can be genetic sort of components. Often the people who do well, they have got very good genetics. Like that's a big part, but also you can't just use that as an excuse to ignore, you know what I mean? Like, so like if they're all doing a lot of the same kind of things in terms of maybe not getting that heavy in the off season, maybe their training is, let's say, maybe they've got a bro split. Yeah. Like that's something that you think, right, all the people that were the top guys in the WMBF or in this or in that were doing a bro split. Yeah. That is something that you need to take into account. Like, I think people often go, almost neglect what
I'm doing my shit and I'm doing it well, so I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, which is great. Like, but I think, you know, like how people will go, well, this is what Ronnie did, and then people like laugh about that and go, oh, that's fucking stupid. And I get that because it's Ronnie Coleman, but also like you got to think there is going to be some warrant behind like what the most successful athletes are doing. Yeah. You can't just go, oh, fuck that, it's just, they're all just genetic freaks. A lot of them are very, very good genetically, but they're also probably doing things well.
I bet like if the average individual lived with like peak Ronnie Coleman, was eating like 7 meals a day, training as hard as he was,
they'd make
like they would make loads of progress, and they'd be like, oh shit, even though studies only say I need 4 protein synthesis spikes per day, and maybe I can be in the gym for 60 minutes and 90 minutes. So it's like, or you just go in, trash yourself, eat a lot of food, sleep a lot, you'd probably be actually making far more progress.
I think it is like nowadays it's just everything's overanalyzed, and like the amount of times in check-ins where like people will ask us like questions about like the minute details, but then they're like, oh, so I missed 2 sessions this week. It's like, you've just asked about like the smallest thing, or like something in regards to nutrition, like they'll be asking about a specific food and the micronutrients that it contains, and then they're like in the next sentence like, so yeah, my sleep's been shit, and it's like, what? Like, you're not doing the basics right. Like, if you're not doing the basics right, those small percentages they don't make any difference at all. They make no sense to even question them. Yeah. Like, if you're not getting a good amount of sleep every night, if you're not training really, really hard, like again, you see it all the time. Like in gyms nowadays, most people, I would say, are just more bothered about training really accurately than training hard.
Definitely.
And it's like you kind of need to do both. Like we've always said, when we were training like idiots, like we learned a lot from that, because it was like, okay, we actually know how to train stupidly hard now. And we forget, like when I trained with Owen, won't mind me saying, when I trained with Owen on Saturday, like he was like, I was like jokingly calling him a pussy with like some of the things that he was doing, but then I also forget, like,
you've done that before.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But also like that's quite normal.
Yeah. It's completely normal, but I forget that, like for me, if we were to go and train right now and do 10 sets and just take them all to failure, past failure, with partials, with force reps.
Length and partials?
Length and partials.
So hypertrophic. I'm just grown saying that.
We wouldn't be like throwing up.
No.
We'd just be like, fucking hell, that was a good session.
Oh yeah, but when somebody...
But if you do that for someone else, they're throwing up. They can't train for the next 3 days. And even the people that
you think like train hard, but it takes time.
Yeah, you know, it is a skill.
Yeah, it is. And it's like kind of that, the setting the standards of like, a leg press, for example, I don't know. I know you trained with Owen. You've replaced me for that session. Cheers. But let's say, for example, he was to do a leg press. He's probably maybe 2 or 3 reps away from failure. To the average individual, like let's say
That's
Premier,
like-
they'd be like 6 set.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that, literally the other day, Jordan Jallen was spotting. Who's the classic dude he's doing a prep this year? Ollie.
Ollie Mars.
Yeah, and Ollie did a set where he probably had maybe 1 or 2 in the tank, and Jallen was like, "Mate, fucking wicked set," and like Sanaya literally was like, "You had about 2 more left," but. I'm not saying to them as I'm not talking down upon them. To the average individual or to people that even compete and stuff like that, that's sound. But
yeah, I think perceived failure versus true failure are two very different
It was a good
things.
set. It was a decent set. Like that's better than a lot of people. But again, like with somebody where if you were to take them there, the reaction is like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?"
I wouldn't even say that though. I think as well, a lot of people struggle to get to that point because of things like their breathing and their bracing. Owen's hack squat, for example, he almost looked like he was going to fail from rep 4, but then he got like 11 reps.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, why on earth is rep 4 that slow?
Yeah.
Like, it's because you're not breathing very well, you're not bracing very effectively, and you're not fully switched on. Like, after 4 reps, he was like, oh.
Niall threw up when he trained legs with us, and we didn't try and kill him or anything. It was literally a case where I think he failed a leg press, if I remember correctly. He might have failed a rep, and we were like, go again.
Yeah,
and then he got the next rep.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I spot Finn on a leg press, unless he's like a week out from a show, I know exactly when I'm going to probably have to jump in. There'll be a few times, like yesterday, for example, I said to him on a Smith press, "Oh, I thought you could have had that." I rarely ever say that, but that's because I've seen Finn do
and it was
thousands,
a low rep set.
Yeah, and it was thousands of sets. And that wasn't because of anything other than it was just a heavy set. But I think, again, if like the amount of times I remember training with Comran in prep, and I jumped in on a leg press where I was like, why did I have to jump in? You had so many more.
Like
and he was ruined afterwards. And I said to him, like, this shows, like, your training is good, but there's a fine line between it being a little bit better, which is going to show in your physique.
The other day, Reese trained with Sanaya, replaced me.
Oh, here we go. And I said, fucking hell, during the leg press.
During the set, he went, oh, fucking hell. And then after the set, I was like, why are you being a pussy? Like, and you were like, what? And I was like, you shouldn't be saying fucking hell in the set. And you were like, yeah, I know. Like, it was because my brace wasn't good. Yeah. Like, little things like that, like, I think for most people, like, during a set, if they go, oh, come on, like, for us, we're like, why are you wasting energy? Like, you don't need to be wasting that energy. If you're shouting, come on at yourself, or if you're going, oh, fucking hell, or on a leg press, if you take your hands off the handles and hold your legs, like,
I fucking hate that.
all you're doing is making it harder for yourself. Like, you should just... All you should be thinking is, like, literally breathe, brace, get the next rep. Breathe, brace, get the next rep.
At a time.
Like, and if you don't get the next rep, that should be because you've truly failed. Like, it shouldn't be because your breathing wasn't good, or you're telling yourself it's harder than it is, or your bracing wasn't efficient. Like, like little things like that. I think we've, again, just learnt from years and years of training together and training really fucking hard. Like, if you think about back, we used to train harder than we do now. Definitely. Because we're a little bit smarter with things now.
And also we're stronger. Like, if I tried to do what I did before, fucking hell.
Yeah, but also rude. We just know, like, let's say, for example, back in the day when we'd be on the hack at Pure Gym, like, we know that's not really going to stimulate much growth, like when you're just bottoming into the rep. Like, we trained harder then.
0 second eccentric, 1 rep max with 7 assisted reps.
Yes, they were hard sets.
That was really hard.
But they weren't very hypertrophic. Like, they weren't very good.
No. But then if you think about our lockdown sessions, if you were to think about that upper session that used to take us like 5 hours on a Saturday, like legitimately like minimum 4 hours, it would be like there'd be a lateral raise that was like probably the only nice exercise, 2 to 3 heavy barbell presses, probably like a barbell shoulder press,
access to
a barbell like incline, and then maybe a close grip, or like a dumbbell. Like, we used to set up a dumbbell press sometimes. We'd then do like a dumbbell row as a single arm row. We do like
barbell row,
a chest supported barbell row, and then we do like a set of weighted pull ups.
Or then maybe even shrugs.
Shrugs as well. We did some of them.
But if you think about that, in essence, as a whole session, it's not actually that much. Like, if we were to go into Rotherham now, and do a lateral, 2 to 3 presses, a lat movement, an upper back movement, and a shrug, something like that, and then a bit of arms.
It's not.
You'd be like, oh, it's a pretty long upper session, but it'd be like 2.5, 3 hours. But it's because it was. Everything was barbell based. Everything was having to be set up.
But imagine
rather
like
just going on a machine.
Setting, like, we used to literally have to craft the gym, move the benches around. We had different setups with blocks, and everything was like, right, we're doing this for this. And it was more so a case where, like, because it was barbell movements, you'd be ruined for a good amount of time.
I guarantee we'll have burnt like 2,000 calories every session.
Oh, mate, I had that's when I used to have 370 grams of Frosties post workout. Like, what's that? 300 carbs just from cereal. Like,
we used to like.
That was one of the highest I've ever had my food, really, because it was a case where we were on our feet. We didn't have like our phones didn't have service, so we just
And
had
also,
like songs downloaded.
Because it was during lockdown.
Yeah.
What else were we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not as if like in the morning we were going out, or in the evening we were doing something with like I think you were seeing Sinai at that point, but like me and Shannon weren't doing anything because everywhere was closed. Yeah. So it was like all your energy for the day was just
training. Like, fucking kill yourself. Let's just get into the gym.
They were good days.
They were, yeah, definitely. That. Yeah, they were good fun. But yeah, I think it's one of those where, like, again, you just have to learn the basics of training hard and just getting after it. But the problem is, and again, this is something that a lot of people probably don't realise, the standards like that we set. I do sets when I was on my own, and like I remember being at Ultraflex Leeds, like bottling a set where like I'd fail a hack squat and I would legitimately like smash my head against a wall or like fucking hit a wall, like not punch a wall, but I'd like slap my hand or I'd like headbutt my fucking phone to the point. It sounds mental, but I'd get so frustrated because I'd be like, why am I fucking failing a hack that I should get a rep for?
I remember like back in the day when I was prepping for. Or maybe even my off season before the prep for my first show. I think it was maybe when I was being coached by AJ or just before. I remember like my hack squat sets. I'd literally stare at a certain point at the wall, and like every single rep, like towards failure, I'd literally be like imagining horrible things happening if I didn't get the rep. Yeah. Like, whereas now I don't really need to do that because I've developed that ability to just make sure that I take it there. Yeah. And if I don't, I wouldn't, you know what I mean? It's like I make sure that it goes to that point anyway. But back in the day, I'd have to really get amped up for it and really get switched on, otherwise I wouldn't be able to perform well. Yeah. Whereas now, you still need that now and again, obviously on like really big demanding movements. But like I remember doing that back in the day on like every set, and that's something like with Josh at the minute. He's like learning that, and he's loving it, which is great. But then also he's doing it on like, let's say his leg extension. Right at the end of the session, I'm like, you can still get everything out of his leg extension, but actually just go into it a bit calmer, and you'll probably get more out of it because you're not going into it as amped up. You're not creating so much arousal before it to the point where you actually then make the set worse. Yeah, like there's some exercises at certain points in the session where you actually benefit from just going in with a bit of a calmer approach. Yeah, but again, not everybody can distinguish that. It's like it's one or the other.
It's either like full on rage or like I'm going in like
it's really chilled.
Yeah. And there's a fine line.
That balance.
I think you naturally go from like being extremely. I think the progression is like you don't realize, then you realize, oh, I actually get benefit from being mentally a bit more switched on. Yeah. Then it goes to like way too aroused, like stupidly inaccurate, but like aggressive. Then you almost kind of fine tune it to a point where it's like some exercises, and then I think as you get longer in your training. Like, the only exercise I really, really get amped up for is a hinge. Like, that's the only one that I'm like, right, 100% need to be at it. Everyone else, I'm like, probably like 70 to 80% more like calm and composed. But there's still that level of arousal, but it's lesser, just fucking move the weight. Yeah. You know, and I think eventually, like, it'll probably get to a point where I'm like so spot on with a hinge that I can probably go in at 70, 80% calm and composed, but still be to the same standard. Yeah. But I think it's naturally like, when I remember when we trained at like Pure or Lockdown, every exercise was like, right, get a fucking song on, get your head spot on, right, go in, be aggressive, right, move the weight. Where now, like, if we train push together, if I could train push, it would be a case of like, right, cool, big movement, top set, get yourself ready, but it wouldn't be like, let's fucking go, let's get
if
after
anything,
it.
I feel like you just lose that accuracy.
Yeah.
When there's movements where you don't need to go in at that level.
Mate, if you're on a Smith press where it's a straight line, do you really need to be like, okay, here we fucking go?
Exactly. I think... But at some point in your training, you do need to learn that.
Yes,
definitely. Because otherwise, you don't know how to take it all the way there. Yeah. But like literally, like you were just saying, then it's just an inverted U in terms of like performance and arousal. Like there is literally like evidence and loads of studies done on that that inverted U graph, where it's basically like you'll find a certain peak point of arousal, and that's where your peak level of performance would be. And it's different for everybody, different for every exercise, for every individual. So like we've said before, like I can't really go into a hinge as amped up as you, because I just like I did 2-3 weeks ago. Now I've fucked my back. So it's like, okay, that's not smart. I need to be more calm and really just focus on getting tight if I'm going to go into that. Whereas like on a squat pattern,
the exact opposite.
I can just get after it because generally squat patterns feel decent for me. Whereas for you, it's like you have to really think about your execution. So again, it is dependent on that exercise for that individual. And usually I'd say like weaker body parts for most people, like you'd find that it'd be your weaker body parts where you're probably going to have to think a little bit more going into the set rather than just moving it.
No, that's a good point. Anything else you wanted to cover? Where are we at time-wise?
I think we'll wrap it up there, and
Yeah,
then we'll
11:44. Yeah,
do some
sound.
separate episodes. So
Yeah.
we'll leave that as like a catch up and just a general chat
I
episode.
say catch up. I feel like we need to stop. We never used to say, okay, this is a catch up. This is just a once you're in, you're in. This is just a chat. This is just where we're at, how things are, and how our New Year's been. Before we actually wrap up, how was your New Year's, mate? You went out for a nice
Yeah,
meal.
we might as well do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what day was it? Sunday. So what did we do? I feel like we did something in the day.
Anal
Can't
bleaching.
remember. Yeah, it might have been.
Oh shit! Sorry, guys.
Please.
Finn just turned the lights off. There we go. Right, the lights have turned off, so hopefully you
those
can still
ones
see
are.
us. Yeah, those ones are
Very
right.
well. Yeah, I can't remember what we did in the day, but in the evening we went. In the day. So basically, we booked this restaurant. It's called. It's like a pub / restaurant called Quarndon Fox, I think. Yeah, and it's like 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
And they messaged
2-minute drive in the Mustang.
They messaged Shannon in the morning, and they were like, "We look forward to seeing you this evening for our New Year's Eve menu from $65.99 per person." And Shannon was like, "I haven't booked that. Like, I booked a table. I didn't book this menu." So she rang them, and then they were like, "Yeah, that's the only option." And she was like, "All right." And then we looked at the menu, and I was like, "If it's good, I don't mind."
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
not
bet
like
it's very over. If
it
it's,
wasn't. Yeah, mate. There was like nothing on there that either.
Those
of us would
New
have-
Year's Eve menus are literally like 7 things long.
Well, it
They're
was-
all
it
extremely
was-
like you'll have octopus or something
Yeah, I
stupid.
can't remember what it was, but it was like 3 courses. There was like a couple of desserts that looked alright, but like other than that, it was like the mains were just fancy, like overly
that's what I mean,
fancy.
yeah.
The starters, like there was nothing that we'd have really liked. So I was like, I'll ring them again and I'll like ask. So I rang them again, and obviously it was off my number this time.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, we've booked a table for tonight. Like I've got a text saying this, and they're like, yeah, that's the only option. And I was like, well, I didn't book that, and I wasn't made aware of that.
Yeah.
I was like, so we don't want that menu. And they were like, oh, okay, well, you have to sit in the bar area instead. And I was like, well, that's fine. I was like, as long as we can just have the normal menu. And they were like, yeah, Sam. So we got there, and they sat us in the restaurant, and they were like, here's the menu. And I was like, oh, we rang earlier. And they were like, oh, let me just check. And then they went and spoke to this guy, and they were like, oh, you can't sit in this part of the restaurant. And I was like, sound like, but like, where like, can we have a decent table? So like, luckily we got a decent table.
Imagine that. Yeah, you can have a takeaway.
Mate, like
Sit
I
in the
thought
car.
we were gonna have to sit like at the bar, like sit like on stools.
Imagine.
But luckily we got like a nice table. It all worked out fine, and the meal was really good, to be fair, like really really nice.
Yeah.
And then we just went home. We bought a game called Tension. So it's like, do you know, like I think it's like called Tenable on TV.
I've
And
heard.
It's like,
I don't know what.
you
I've
basically
heard of it though.
You basically like have to name like the top 10 things, or like 10 things. So if I was to say to you like animals that start with the letter S, there'd be 10 things on this card, and in a minute you have to see how many you can get.
Yeah.
And then however many you get, you move that many on the board and stuff. So we just played that, tried to stay up till midnight, got to like just after 11, and then I was like, I'm knackered. We just went to bed. Shannon said she was awake still for the fireworks, like, but I'd luckily fallen asleep.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Fireworks. Nah.
I'm glad I didn't
I didn't
do
watch
anything,
it,
like, because the day after I felt really good. I was straight back into my normal routine. Like, I had a lot of clients checking in who were like, "Oh, you know, I feel battered because New Year's," and like,
I woke up and I had no check-ins really, and then about like maybe by 10, 11, like most of them came through.
I had a lot less though.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously people, to be fair, people on like they
can do what they want.
they're busy,
you know?
and like New Year's Day, a lot of people, it's obviously like a family day and stuff.
A lot of people know. A lot of people treat it like I didn't know New Year's was such a thing till I
people
probably
treat
coached
it like
people.
another Christmas day.
Yeah, I don't. I've never thought about anything like this. Was the first time I've ever had an alcoholic beverage on New Year's or New Year's Eve. Like I've never drank.
Jacob said that you had a lot.
We didn't drink that much.
He said he had more.
He
than
had
you.
loads.
He said he was in a better
Jacob's
state than
fucked.
you.
Yeah. What?
He said he had more than you, and he was in a better state.
No, mate, he was awful. He was the most drunk out of us all. Jacob, you're a liar, mate. It's gonna go red. Yeah, Jacob drank way too much. B modified owner. He was fucked, like really bad. He was like standing up going, "Mel, leave me alone. I'm drunk." I was like, yeah. So Jacob, I'm not having that. He was awful. Like, I'm surprised he said that because it was like a very known, apparent thing. Jacob's the worst. So like he had the most out of us all. I was probably the most sober. I didn't really drink that much. I had like maybe 4, 5 drinks. But to be fair, like they were quite like
4 or 5 bottles. Yeah.
4 or 5 bottles, yeah, 4 or 5 bottles. But no, it was cool. We went round, like Mel and Sanaa cooked some food. We had like some burgers and some like chips or whatever.
You had loads, didn't you? You binged.
Yeah, I binged. To be fair,
I saw all the food. You get crisps and everything, mate.
I didn't eat the crisps or anything like that. I think I had
Such a liar.
No, I genuinely didn't. Like, they
to
had.
be fair, you can't eat. So.
Yeah, they had loads of food. Like they had loads of food on the table.
Like, tiny
they had like
bits.
a little bit here, a little bit there.
A bit full.
I'm full. I had like 4 mouthfuls. I'm like, I can't eat anymore. I've pushed up too much. But no, it was a good night. Me and Jacob played some Fall Guys. You know what Fall Guys is? The game. Do you know it?
Yeah.
You played it?
Yeah, we know when it was like really popular.
Yeah.
When it first like came out, I played it a bit then.
We both peaked really early. We got like into the finals. Like I got like fifth, and he got Jacob got like third, and then we were like the girls came in to like watch. We all had a bit of like we all went in turns, and like me and Jacob were like, oh yeah, we just got like finals, almost won. Like we're really good. The next like we got eliminated first round like for like 7 times in a row, and we were like, okay, let's just stop playing this. So we played a bit of Cards Against Humanity, which was the first time that they ever played that. Yeah, we had like a game called like Monkey Tales or something like Go Bananas, which is quite good
Flex
fun.
Popped it though.
Yeah, Flex fucked it. So yeah,
I know what happened, mate.
Yeah, did you just speak to?
I had a chat with Jacob.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good night. Went to bed at like 2. Before that, Jacob was showing me all his gear supplies, just classic meathead stuff. He was like, "Oh yeah, I get this." He was like, "You could try that if you want." And I was just like looking through his drawers, like, "All right, this is classic meathead sort of stuff."
Yeah, right. Okay. See you in the morning.
Yeah, I was like, "So, do you want to pin me right now, bro?" So yeah, so that was that. And then otherwise, woke up like I went to bed like. I slept on a sofa like bed that was like admittedly probably not the best. Like that being said, I don't sleep the best. So I slept for like 5 hours, didn't really sleep the best, and woke up feeling all right. And then it was my first day of the diet. Trained arms, did my cardio, did the same sort of stuff that I would usually do. So yeah, I think it's one of those where the problem is if you treat it like, let's say you have a few drinks, you do wake up a bit sluggish. But I was like, right, I got some hydroflow in. I drank water before I went to
the amount of clients that I was like saying just have hydroflow. And, like, I got loads of them would message me in the morning like. I had all my hydroflow last night. I had half a tub of hydroflow.
Half a tub of hydroflow. No, but like I woke up the next day, like I went for a walk when I got back. I did some cardio, and like I didn't feel amazing, but I didn't feel hungover.
I think
the problem is it's very easy to go. I'm going to do nothing, and not go outside, and you just feel naff.
Yeah,
you feel awful.
The worst thing to do is like feel sorry for yourself, get a takeaway, and then but it's like 4 p.m. and you've done no steps, and you're like. Oh, I feel so shit. It's like, because you've just been lazy all day. You're better off just being like, oh, I feel a bit shit. Let's just crack on.
Yeah, exactly. And then by like, I remember like by like 5, 6 p.m, I was like, oh, I feel sound.
You just need to rehydrate. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, literally, I felt fine. Like I wasn't hungover when I woke up, but you always feel like you haven't slept that well. You feel a bit more sluggish. But it was like, okay, I felt like this before. Let's just get cracking. Let's actually just not listen to how I feel immediately. And like by like midday into the afternoon, I was like, okay, cool, I'm sound. And then trained, felt good. And then like ever since, I've been all good.
I had one drink.
Did you?
Yeah.
What'd you have?
It was a like apple and cinnamon gin, something like that. Can't remember. It looked nice on the menu, and I was supposed to get it with tonic. I asked for it with tonic, but they gave me it with lemonade, and they gave Shannon hers with tonic. And she doesn't like gin and tonic. She likes gin and lemonade. Yeah. So I had to have. We basically swapped. Tonic water. It's just it's almost like a fizzy water. No, tonic water is.
Oh, I'm so fucking uneducated when it comes to. If you had said tonic, I honestly thought tonic is gin and tonic. I thought that's like tonic is like an alcoholic beverage.
No, it's like vodka and Coke. Coke isn't the alcoholic part. It's the mixer.
Didn't know that. Now I know. You learn something new every day.
Point to end on.
Yeah, right, there we go, guys. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed. Hopefully you can see me. I think I'm lurking in the shadows and working in the shadows. That'll be that. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed. Please get us to 500 subs. Please get us to 800. If anything, subscribe. This is good, but 500 sounds better. So
if you
subscribe,
please give us a rating on Spotify. 5-star. I think we're approaching. We're above 350 ratings now. So
if you've got here and you've listened to us for over an hour, pretty much, or around that sort of time, I'm not too sure how long it's been. You can at least, especially because it's free, do us a favour, sort us out, and we'll appreciate you ever so much. And we'll still ask on the next podcast to do the exact same. So yeah, thanks as always, guys. Bye bye. See you later.